recording. All right, I think we're just about ready to get started then. So welcome to everyone. I'm just going to do a quick check-in with Laura, who is one of the folks that is helping run things tonight. And is there anything that I need to attend to before we go ahead and get started?
No, you are good to go.
Excellent. I'm going to we minimize our participants over here then. All right. Muting everyone. All right, so thanks everybody once again for joining us. My name is Miranda and I am one of the leadership team with the Swissvale Community Action Committee. There are a number of us here who are also on this Zoom. Laura, who I've already introduced. I believe Rachel is on. Holland is over here. She can say hi. Anybody else on the leadership team who's here, feel free to give a wave. That's all I saw, but I didn't see everybody. So, but I just wanted to start by kind of giving a brief overview of Swissvale Community Action Committee. We are a committee of impassioned residents who are committed to connecting all Swissvalians for a more equitable, sustainable, and resilient Swissvale. And in the vein of equity in particular, we offer a number of opportunities in kind of local government and to get folks engaged in their local government, borough politics in particular, but also school board and a number of other races as well. Because we think it's really important for everybody to have access to the information about how to run. So we offer how to run workshops and resources, and also for everybody, as many people as possible to know who is running, which is where tonight's events come in, as well as a few other events that we have held in the past, including a community and candidate cafe and things of that nature. So we really want folks to be able to access and understand who is running. Another thing that we offer is a Meet the Candidates guide, which is out now, but I will give everybody the link at the end of the program this evening. And also in the vein of equity, I just wanted to mention and kind of acknowledge tonight that we would like to acknowledge the 3 guilty verdicts in the Derek Chauvin trial. And we're relieved to see that in this case, there has been accountability in this one particular case. But we definitely want to recognize that true justice is only going to be realized when the systemic oppression that allowed this and so many other acts of racist violence to occur is brought down. So we know this fight is not over, even as we are thankful today. So we did want to acknowledge that, as that is probably on everyone's minds this evening. So speaking of this evening, what are we here for? We're here to meet the candidates. So I want to share with everybody the agenda and format for this evening. We sourced these questions from you all, many of you on this call and some folks who couldn't make it. While you might not hear the exact phrasing of your question, because there were a lot of questions around some similar topics, you'll definitely recognize the topics that you care about in these questions. And in some cases, we'll probably hear the exact phrases that you may have written in for. This is going to be a fast round. There's going to be a round of basically 60 questions in 60 minutes. The candidates will get 1 minute to respond to the question that we ask. Not all of the questions are going to go to all of the candidates. And so, but there will be an opportunity for the candidates to kind of, answer some unasked questions as well. And so each of the candidates will basically get 6 questions this evening. We're going to rotate through. So it's going to be kind of like jumping back and forth from candidate to candidate. Who goes first in each round and whatnot will be rotated to try to make it fair for everybody and not have to be in the hot seat the whole time, for example. The mayoral candidate questions are sometimes somewhat different. And there are 3 candidates for mayor, which we'll discuss in a moment. But those 3 candidates, since they are a little bit different, and also to make sure we distinguish them, their questions will be asked as the last 3 questions, if they're being asked at all, one of those questions. So just for the sake of saying, there will then be a round where the candidates get to choose a question that, we didn't ask them, that they really, didn't get a chance to say their piece on. They will get a minute to address that question or topic at the end. So it's a candidate's choice question. We hope to have some time for community member questions, and we are going to open the chat for that. We're just saving it to the end because, it's going to be it could get very hectic in the chat, and we want to limit distractions as much as possible because this is going to be a lot of switching around, and we don't need anybody distracted any further than we're already going to distract you. So we're going to do community member questions at the end via the chat. So who are your candidates? We are going to be spotlighting candidates whenever they're speaking, so that you will hopefully get them on your screen. I know that you might not be able to see everybody right now, but when they're answering a question, we're going to spotlight them. But your council candidates are listed, as well as your mayoral candidates. You will notice Mr. Frank Berry is running for council and mayor. You will also notice a few asterisks, that indicate a few unique situations. Brandon Mahler will not be on the primary ballot as a non-affiliated candidate, but he will be in the general election. And we do think it's important to acknowledge third-party candidates throughout campaign season. And so he is participating tonight. Mr. Martin Bush did not respond to our numerous, as the candidates can all attest, reminders for this event and for the Meet the Candidates guide. So he will not be in the call this evening. And then finally, Jeremy Brake-Zacherl is a write-in candidate. So you will not see him on the ballot either, but he will be there. But you will have the opportunity to write him in as he has requested. So those are your candidates this evening. All right, so let me go ahead and get started. So the way this will run tonight, you'll see on the screen, and Abigail will get a little bit of a chance here to kind of preview the question. But the first question tonight is going to go to all candidates. And this is kind of an introductory question for everybody, and kind of a way to talk a little bit about yourself here as an introduction. We're also going to be doing a timer. You may hear, hopefully you'll hear the end buzzer. You may not, we'll see what happens. So we're gonna go ahead and ask Abigail to unmute, and I'll read the question. And we're gonna ask Laura to go ahead and spot Abigail. And so there she is. And so the question is, to accomplish your goals and serve Swissvale, you will invariably need to unite and play well with others. Which skills and experiences do you have in team building and collaboration?
Okay, so when I started on council 4 years ago, I'm running for re-election. And when I started 4 years ago, I don't mean to disparage anyone, but I will say that there was no team building, there was no collaboration, there was screaming, there was a lot, and it made working together almost impossible. I like to think that as president over the past year and a half so far, I've set a precedent that I don't tolerate that. I don't tolerate insulting other people during meetings. I don't tolerate any of that sort of behavior. It doesn't serve the community. It doesn't get anything done. So I'm actually really proud of the team building that we've done. I think that a lot of people in council work amazingly well together. And I think that basically the skill and experience is focusing on the goal and not focusing on the person who's sitting across from you.
All right, great, thank you. Appreciate that. We're gonna skip ahead. So we were let know this evening that Ms. Stribling won't be joining us. I think and Mr. Quinn can explain a bit more as he has a chance. But kind of the weight of everything today, I think, and including the verdicts. She was not able to join us. So I'm going to skip ahead. So the next question, same question rather, we'll go to Brandon Mahler, and we've got him spotlighted. So, and he's unmuted. So go ahead, Brandon.
Hi, I'm Brandon Mahler. I think the skills that I bring are I've worked professionally in research project management for about 16 years with a diverse group of people. Sorry, my son just walked in. And primarily I've worked in health disparities research in Black and African American men and women in cancer outcomes. So I've been able to work successfully in implementing large scale NIH projects with multi-million-dollar budgets, working with a diverse group of people, and both the people that I work with and the community at large. And oftentimes in doing the work that I've done, there's some difficulty in going out to the community and community-based participatory research and sort of seeing what the needs of the community are and meeting them with the goals of what we're funded to do. And I've worked with people with PhDs, MDs, and people who have less education from a wide variety of socioeconomic backgrounds. And we're able to converge and meet in a goal by treating each other civilly.
Thank you. And I apologize for mispronouncing your name, Mahler. It is noted. All right, next up is Mr. Fred Quinn, and we're going to spotlight him.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Fred. Are you ready? I got it. Ready? All right, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello,
Sorry.
everyone. My name is Fred Quinn. I wanted to say that my mother would not be able to attend because of the recent events of today. There was also another police shooting of a 50-year-old girl in Columbus, Ohio. The emotional toll has taken a lot. But to speak to the question, I think that a current project I'm actually taking on displays that. I don't know if you guys have seen me all through your Facebook groups and things like that, but I'm actually putting together a vaccine drive for Swissvale and being able to pull different resources from different areas of Pittsburgh. I've called people at Social Outreach to get the shots to us. We were able to reach out to people at the food bank and get a venue. We're getting snacks, we're getting just people ready and getting the word out, just working with all the different businesses. I think was very important. I have a very charming personality, which really sells and gets along with everyone. I am a LGBTQ Black man. I am the epitome of diversity. So I'm used to working with different groups. I am a former teacher as well. I've worked with groups, students with learning disabilities. I also volunteer with Key Service Corps with AmeriCorps. So I've worked with a diverse group of people.
Thank you. All right, Joshua Miser is next. And there he is. And unmuted, go ahead, Josh.
Good evening. My name is Josh Miser. First of all, thank you, Swissvale Community Action, for putting this together. I think all the work you guys do for local campaigns is great. So the way that I believe that I would be a uniter in this position is first professionally. I work as a project manager. So in my day-to-day work, it's essential for me to work well with others, but I think more so in my own personal upbringing. My journey, my life journey has taken me through all facets of politics and working with all different people groups. And I believe that just those life experiences have made me a peacemaker and somebody who seeks peace and seeks to work together to establish a common good, and that's exactly why I'm running for council, is to be a team player and to make Swissvale a better place for everybody.
Thank you. All right, next is John Wilson, who many of you probably know as Scrap. All right, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Can y'all hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear you, Scott. Go ahead.
I'm in the middle of baseball practice, so it's like, you know, I'm trying to just do what it is that I do in the community, you know, so I'm like hitting baseballs and listening at the same time. It's kind of hard. Got mask on. I'm just, you know, self-explanatory. I'm all about action. I'm all about putting in work, and I'm all about community. I'm all about unity. I could talk until I'm blue in the face, but I just like to put a lot of action behind everything that is involved in community. I'm really into diversity. That's pretty much short and sweet. Like, you know, I'm here to work and I'm here to make a difference.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Right. Shawn Alfonso Wells. Go ahead.
All righty, so I'm Shawn Alfonso Wells, and in terms of what skills do I have and experience in terms of team building, I'm an anthropologist. I'm trained to listen to others and to observe what's going on. I work at the University of Pittsburgh. I teach, and I also work with lots of other people. I've been on council for the last year. And I've learned how to, or rather, I didn't learn how to work with people on council, but I pretty much know how to work with other people, which means you don't demonize them, but you listen to what they have to say, and then you see where you can come to some type of middle if you can. But we definitely need some team building. Abigail has been great in terms of keeping us focused and on task on council. And so we will continue to do that.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Frank Berry, we're going to get you spotlighted and then make sure you're unmuted.
Well, good evening, everybody, and I'd like to agree with those who've said it already. We're thankful that Swissvale Community Action Committee has stepped up and been transparent with this process. My experience was I served 10 years, 6 months, 13 days in the Marine Corps. I had to work with all different sorts of people. The military is a great place to advance for people that are non-majority. I was both led by them and later had the great joy to lead them. And I understand decorum, taking an oath, being honest, but also those things that need to stay in executive session, doing that as well. Been a citizen in Swissvale for 52 years coming this August. For 21 years, I've watched the council meetings, and I look forward to serving once again. And we've got a lot of great candidates. And one of the things we have to remember is we can't be deaf to the people. They have the right to petition their government for redress grievances. I volunteered at the local food pantry, the library. I've been involved with a lot of stuff. I'm looking to amp it up. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Right. Mayor Deneen Swartzwelder, you get her spotlighted and then have her. Here we go.
So I have been the mayor for 15 plus years. And with that said, I've had to work with a lot of different council members and department heads. And I think I always try to build a good relationship with them because we are the ones who are solving most of Swissvale's problems. I volunteered way before I was the mayor, and I've started a lot of community events in Swissvale, community days, the Halloween parade, the light up night, national night out, block parties, and that's the way you build a community. And I feel that you know, these events are very important to our community and the people who live here.
Thanks. All right. And Jeremy. And go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeremy Brake-Zacherl. Many years I have been working. I have always risen to the top, and no matter what position I have. I've always been seen as a leader. and also as a follower. In order to be effective, you got to be both a leader and a follower. Currently, I am on several committees at work where we work together to increase our HCAP scores. I am in the medical field, so we get scored on everything. So I have always worked hard and dealt with challenges along the way, but I conquer.
Great, thank you. Candidates, I have to congratulate you on making it through round one. And you all did a fantastic job of staying on time. Appreciate that very much so. So let's continue that. And in the following few rounds, not everybody will get asked a question. So just keep that in mind as we go along throughout the rounds. So since Angela's not here, we're going to skip over Angela and we're going to go to Brandon. And the question that is for Brandon is, what will you do to improve pedestrian safety and accessibility in Swissvale, especially running of stop signs, the need for substitute crossing guards, and the need for clear sidewalks in winter? Go ahead.
All right, so specifically, I like the improvement that was a collaboration between our municipality and I believe Edgewood in regards to the flashing lights at South Braddock, right by D's and McBroom's. I'd like that to be implemented across the borough in as fiscally responsible manner as possible. I cross there all the time, and there's a cross that nobody acknowledges, excuse me, no drivers acknowledge, right across from the Metro Health Center. I don't know the name of the building, I'm terrible with, but it's on South Braddock. It's right across from where Frankie's used to be. Now there's a lot there, and Inksburg. And there is a pedestrian crossway there that nobody, and I mean nobody, pauses for. I'd like to see projects like that that are quick, effective, and implemented in a fiscally responsible manner. Things like that that are practical, visible ways to get people to at least acknowledge their responsibility.
Great, thank you. All right, this is a bit of a different question, and this is for John Wilson, Scrap, who hopefully can join us out of practice again for this question. This one's a bit different. This one is, we'll see if we can get Scrap pinned here before I go too much further.
His video isn't on, so just go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Do you support the construction of more walking and biking paths around and through Swissvale? And if so, how would you work regionally, such as with the city's Department of Mobility and Infrastructure, to make that happen? So do you support the construction of more walking and biking paths, and how would you work regionally to make that happen? And Scrap, you can feel free to unmute and join us if you're able. So bummer, it seems like maybe Scrap is probably trying to do something with practice. So we'll try to come back to him in this round of questions if he seems like he's able. And Laura or Holland, if you can just let me know if you see Scrap pop up, we'll go back to him. So next question, same question is for Abigail Salisbury. Again, do you support the construction of more walking and biking paths around and through Swissvale? And if so, how would you work regionally to make that happen?
I don't know anybody who doesn't support. So I would definitely support the construction of more walking and biking paths. It really enhances our community, helps people, who maybe don't have access to certain types of transportation. And also, of course, is just good for general exercise. In terms of working regionally to make that happen, I think that, of course, we always have to keep in mind funding. And I'm very pleased that we've recently hired 2 director level employees in the borough who, as a major part of their interview process, we really focused on seeking funding for projects like this. We want to, of course, always build relationships with other entities. I've been fortunate to be able to participate in the Leadership Pittsburgh program this past year, and that has enabled me to make some valuable connections. I'm big on networking, and I will definitely bring all of that to bear in trying to get this type of project through.
Thank you. And Laura, do we see Scrap any in the, if he's available?
I think he might have logged out.
Okay. All right, we'll move on and hopefully he will join us when he's able. All right, the next question, a bit of a change in questions. We have some quality of life questions here up front, this being one of them that often comes up in discussions when we talk about issues in Swissvale. So this question for Fred Quinn first is, there's an ongoing issue with litter in Swissvale. Besides what is already being done, such as the SEDCO cleanups, what are your plans to fix this issue?
So, as everyone probably agrees, there is a litter problem in Swissvale. I actually had an issue last week. I was walking through the parking lot behind the pantry, and I seen a bottle, of urine that, of course, is unsanitary to pick up. I think, first and foremost, installing, there's a lot of people who congregate in the parking lot behind the food pantry at different times of the day. Installing garbage cans there to kind of level off the litter that's there. Also, if the funds allow it, I want to start a summer youth program for young kids to be able to come and not only learn about conservation of their borough, but to be able to clean it up themselves and get paid for it. I mean, that tackles 2 things in one: being able to keep our youth engaged, also learning, and give them something to incentivize them for making our community better. So those will be 2 of the many things I would do.
Great, thank you. All right. Same question to Joshua Miser. The ongoing litter issue, what would your plans be to fix that?
Yeah, so I echo what Fred said. You know, it is a major issue in Swissvale, and I have participated in some of the SEDCO, the March SEDCO cleanup and saw that firsthand. I think the first thing we can do is publicize the events we already have in a more transparent way, where people in the community see that we're having these cleanups. Another thing I've seen that Allegheny County is starting is they're doing it's almost a professional league, major league cleanup type thing. And I think, and I've heard Miss Alfonso Wells talking about, a competitive between blocks and Swissvale, for litter cleanup and somehow, like Fred said, engaging the youth, I think would go a long way in solving that issue. And it is a major issue, and we have to, we all have to work together, because it's something that affects our entire community. So those are some things I would do.
Great, thank you. Speaking of Ms. Alfonso Wells, Dr. Alfonso Wells rather, next, same question is to you. Go ahead.
So that little problem, you gotta love it. So there are a couple of things that we've been working on. One, I made a challenge, and we're going to, hopefully, we'll see if we can vote on that at our next meeting to see if council can give us some funds, matching funds, to help with buying some trash cans. And I saw that some other people have been buying trash cans, but we're also trying to put in a system so that we can get the trash cans to the people that are in need and that they can call in for them. I also think that, like I said, I challenged my block, and if we can get people really interested in picking up the litter, that's important. And finally, one of the other things, and this is what Josh just said too, Dudo was saying in a commercial earlier this week that one of the things we can do for our youth is to get them paid jobs for the summer. So we can look for some grant programs that can pay our youth to help clean up the litter also.
Great, thank you. And we do Had that question for Angela, and then we have this question for the mayor. So the mayor candidates will also be answering this question. Same question, the ongoing issue with the litter, besides what's already being done, such as the SEDCO cleanups, what are your plans to fix this issue?
Well, that's one of my pet peeves. I just hate the look of the streets. So yes, I volunteer with SEDCO and we do that once a month, but it's not a once a month fix. You know, it's a daily fix. And yeah, more garbage cans around town would help that. But I think everybody needs to just start pitching in. And when you take your dog out for a walk or you're just leisure walking, pick up the garbage. That's what I do. That's what I see a lot of people doing it. And it's a community. It's a community problem and the community has to volunteer and fix it. I'd also like to see a DPW worker assigned to at least sweeping the business district and keeping it clean. We used to have that years ago and it worked really well. And it's something I think we should implement.
Great, thank you. Next will be to Jeremy Brake-Zacherl. Go ahead.
All right, great question. Litter, I hate it. I look at litter every day when I look out my window and it drives me nuts. I've called Public Works about some larger litter issues behind our house, and it is yet to be resolved. So my plan for that is when we have the community cleanup day with the hard to recycle items, get rid of items, I'm loading up my truck and I'm getting rid of that stuff. But I do want to work with local magistrates, see if we can have people who are assigned community service hours and spend those community service hours picking up litter in our community. I want to increase the cleanup days and the cleanup areas as well.
Great, thank you. And final candidate for this question, Frank Berry, same question to you.
Yes, thank you. One of the important things I think that we could do that would really help to implement this and also help with dog waste is if with the recycling garbage cans that we recently got, is if we had an upside down dispenser so you wouldn't get rain in it to pull out bags, that would help a lot. They did that recently at a concert at Heinz Field, and they gave them 2 bags. They gave them one for recyclable, one for trash. You would not believe how people participated. So it's something sometimes that simple. One of my big concerns is I see these beautiful little icons, and especially when you go up South Braddock and Regent Square, it has a gas mask on the fish and it says this drains to the river. That is something that that's very bad. We don't need to have that getting up in locks and dams and all that sort of thing. One of the big things is let's just take care of our home. Let's take care of where we live. And if you see somebody doing it outside a vehicle, try to get a license plate number, report them.
Thank you. All right, we'll be moving on to a new set of questions. A few here related to businesses, economy, taxes, things like that. So the first one of those questions is going to go to Brandon Mahler, and that is, how will you attract businesses and keep those businesses here in Swissvale, especially on Noble and Irvine, without letting politics get in the way?
So I think we can highlight there's several new businesses on Noble Street. And I think that by highlighting them, which is in many ways already being done, but continuing to do so, and being advocates for those business owners to other potential business owners is a reasonable way to do so. I mean, the municipality would be limited in financial incentives and so on and so forth. So I think that highlighting it is a potentially cost-effective and efficient way to open a business and operate a business, especially ones that the community needs, and highlighting that to potential business owners or operators is probably the most effective way to do this. And I don't think it would be a political issue. I'm a big proponent of businesses, regardless of what they sell or do, so long as they're abiding by the law. I think that highlighting the business owners who are taking a risk and opening businesses now, we absolutely should highlight them because they're the ones that are breaking the mold and creating new ground.
Great, thank you. Slightly different form of a question related to business. This one goes to Fred Quinn, and that is, what will you do to support equitable and sustainable development for Swissvale's economy?
So I believe that actually goes to being able to attract small businesses into Swissvale and being able to advocate for Swissvale to grow. So I believe that one thing that I would do to develop is just giving people like maybe an incentive or a tax incentive for small businesses to be able to come into Swissvale, or highlight like Brandon said, highlighting those business owners who want to come in. I've seen new businesses on Noble. There's a new barbershop I've seen. Just giving props to them and marketing Swissvale, as a better thing. And once more small businesses come in, and we can get more people to move in as well, because that all comes into the economy. We'll be able to keep those businesses thriving and make this not only a better place to grow your business, but a place to sustain it.
Great, thank you. Same question, version of this question to Joshua Miser. What will you do to support equitable and sustainable development for Swissvale's economy?
Yeah, so thanks. The business district is something that anytime I go through it, I see the vacant storefronts, and I picture a Swissvale where those are filled, with businesses again. But I do believe that we have to be careful about what businesses, we would allow to just come in. I do not believe that all business is good business. I think we do need to first promote Swissvale business owners, people here in the community. I also think we need to emphasize I look at other communities around our area, such as East Liberty, things like this, and I think that's where economic development has gone wrong, where you've seen it lead to gentrification. And, that's the last thing I want to see happen here in Swissvale. I want to see business development that represents the community here in Swissvale and the standard of living that we have here in Swissvale.
Similar question to Scrap, to John Wilson, if he's back on, and I apologize, I can't see everybody, so I'll lean on Laura a little bit here to let me know if Scrap is back on.
Nope, I think he's busy with baseball right now.
All right, we'll skip Scrap. All right, this question, then similar question is going to go to Jeremy. And again, this one's getting back to attracting businesses. How will you attract businesses and keep those businesses here in Swissvale without letting politics get in the way?
As Josh mentioned, it would be great to see these empty storefronts filled again. I wish I lived in Swissvale a long time ago when these storefronts were filled and active with businesses and patrons going in and out. One thing I would love to do is, as part of the Swissvale newsletter, is I would love to promote our small businesses here in Swissvale by having a special section where we spotlight our local businesses and just promote their business, who they are, where they're located, what they do. I would love people to come into Swissvale, stay for the day, go travel around to different shops, sit down, eat a meal, drink some coffee, and just enjoy themselves before they go back home for the day.
Great, thank you. All right. Mr. Frank Berry, same question about how you will attract businesses and people in Swissvale.
Well, one of the things that I think we need to look at is Regent Square is thriving. All Swissvale is walkable, but why does Regent Square do so well? We need to find out how they're doing that. We need to clone that, replicate that if possible. We did have a storefront program to help you get a grant or get a loan to fix up your storefront. Every time I was involved with EDAC, that seemed rather complicated. We've got to make this as simple as possible. We've got 3 things going for us. Location, location, location. That busway, that parkway, just getting around otherwise. And we need to acknowledge, like our hardware store, they make the best, fastest keys at Masters Hardware in all of southwestern Pennsylvania. We need to spotlight them, like Jeremy said, and we need to say thank you to them. And that particular store has been here in some form for about 80-some years. And we got to watch them for the first 2 years because that's when you're the most vulnerable. And we got to form, got to vote and shop local. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And then you may have guessed, Mayor Deneen Swartzwelder, same question to you about attracting businesses and keeping them here without letting politics get in the way.
So everyone knows I'm a big Swissvale advocate. I love Swissvale. I think it's a great place to work. And I feel like I make a connection with some people. They come to me and ask me questions about how do you start a business and how do I obtain that building, or, you know, just some general knowledge that I feel that when they come to me, I send them to the right avenues. You know, do they have to talk to the owner, the building inspectors, or just get a plan? I also work with MVI and SEDCO, and the enterprise zone helps attract business to Swissvale by giving bridge loans for new businesses. So, you know, we have things in place to attract businesses, and I think we are doing it. We are succeeding.
Great, thank you. All right, so sticking in kind of a economic realm here, we had a question about taxes, particularly about property taxes. This one's going to go to Dr. Alfonso Wells first. Property taxes are an ever-present issue due to lack of a fair funding formula and rising property values in our region. How could you work with the school district to ensure that people aren't taxed out of their homes?
Good question. I think first, in order to work with the school district, you should know who your school district members are, and I do. And I have been having meetings with them over the summer, which was last summer, but I continue to talk to them. And I think that this is something that council and the school district representatives need to get together and talk about. We're all concerned to make sure that our elderly and that our low income members, and actually our medium income members, because sometimes you can be on that border, that they aren't taxed out of their homes. And one of those concerns has to do with making sure that a lot of speculators don't come into Swissvale and start buying up our properties and then flipping them and making it unaffordable for new and young families and even older families to stay here without paying higher taxes.
Thank you. All right, we're going to have that same question to the other incumbent, that is Abigail Salisbury. So same question regarding property taxes and working with the school district.
I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle at this question, I think, because what we have, of course, there is an issue potentially of gentrification, people being taxed out of their homes, but there's also an issue of homes that are not occupied and structures that are not occupied because they have these giant tax liens on them. The schoolhouse condominiums were in that same sort of situation, and they had to go through a legal process to get their tax liens removed by the school district. And that was to some extent a cooperative effort with the borough. There are quite a large number of properties in the area that could be people's homes, but they have such extensive tax liens on them that no one in their right mind would ever purchase them. I think that a good approach to this would be to work on waiving those liens so that people could purchase them and make them their homes as a different angle of approaching this issue.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Stribling is not here, so we'll skip that. And we have this same question for Brandon Mahler about property taxes and working with the school district.
Yes, so working with the school district. So I was in Swissvale from 0 years of age till about 26 and moved back after about 10 years away and bought my house in 2016. And of course, it was immediately reassessed by the county. And of course, there's a process they're going through to, they say it's worth this much and you say it's worth this much. I would be a huge advocate for empowering people to, because inevitably the millage is set by the school district. And there's some, it's difficult to sort of overcome that. But what I would do is be an advocate for people to, and Ms. Salisbury recommended some really good ideas there too. But be an advocate for people making good financial decisions that are in their best interests. And of course, we're not in control of the property taxes, but you can be an advocate for yourself and empowering people to do so. And if necessary, I know that Swissvale has some legal clinics and steering people in those directions too, to sort of give them the background they need to feel confident when they step in to sort of discuss the assessment of their property when they're purchased in Swissvale.
We're going to switch gears and go to a different set of questions. That this particular question will go to all candidates. And we're going to start with Joshua Meiser. And this was a question that was brought up in a number of different ways by a number of different people in the survey. And so we did our best to kind of try to capture what folks were wanting to ask here. But what ideas do you have to help Swissvale address racial disparities and become more racially inclusive and equitable overall?
Yeah, this is a huge and very timely question, obviously. And, in full transparency, as a white middle-class person, I know I don't have all the answers, but I pledge that I will be a staunch anti-racist ally to this community. And so I think the first most important thing is to listen to our Black community and other people of color and find out where those disparities are and where we can give an equal place at the table for them. I think listening is the most important thing, that I can do as a council member, because the reality is Swissvale is diversifying more and more each year, and we have to be, we have to have an equal place at the table for all. And, I think that's incredibly important.
Great, thank you. Next, we'll go to Scrap if he's on. Laura, let me know if you see John Wilson.
Nope.
All right, moving on. Back to Shawn Alfonso Wells for this question related to ideas you have to help Swissvale address racial disparities and become more racially inclusive and equitable.
Yeah, so there are several ways to do that, and none of them are necessarily well, okay, so some of the ways that you can address this are subtle and some are more in your face. But one of the things is I belong to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And so we try to search for ways in which we can be equitable and inclusive in different forums. One of them is we have been supporting the Juneteenth celebrations. We had a recognition of Juneteenth last year, and we're continuing on with that. We're trying, we also focused on Black History Month So we try to do different community-wide things so that we focus on that. But in addition to that, on every committee I belong to and every decision that I make, I make sure that equity and inclusion is at the forefront. And so I try to look at not just racial equality, but ableism and so on and so forth. And I see I'm out of time.
Thank you. Next to Ms. Salisbury.
I was waiting. Sorry, I was waiting until you pushed the button. I guess as has previously been said, I'm a white lady. I do not have the answer to all racial disparity issues. I will say that I often get compliments on the diversity of our community. I think that that is something that we have as a strength that we can build upon. I unfortunately had to go through, as a Jew, the Tree of Life situation, which affected all of us a few years ago. And I know that that's not the same as a racial inequity or disparity, but it is something that sets people apart and does often include a high level of discrimination, even still today in 2021. I think that the only thing that helps is building relationships with people and caring about what's important to them and listening and caring about that issue overall.
Great, thank you. All right, this one will go to Brandon Mahler.
Yes. So, there we go. So I would argue that Swissvale is pretty racially inclusive, in the sense that we're pretty, as far as racially, a diverse community. And I think that it's fairly equitable. I've walked the streets of Swissvale from when I was a little kid to now when I go out and about. My bigger concern is sort of more in the policies and procedures to make sure that those in power are equitable in their policing of us, their authority over us, things that are structural, and making sure that those policies and procedures are applied equitably across the spectrum, regardless of what our skin color is. Because I think that Swissvale does a really good job in making itself an affordable and attractive place to live to people of varying socioeconomic backgrounds and varying ethnic backgrounds.
Great, thank you. All right, next will be Fred Quinn.
All right. So I must admit, this is a very tough question for me, especially on today. It's been very difficult as a Black man to see everything that's going on. And I think that equity comes with accountability. I think, holding our elected officials accountable, which is part of the reason why I want to get involved, and holding the police accountable is one way to bring racial equity to this borough. I believe that bringing job fairs and career fairs, things to help Black and brown people get better paying jobs, help with maybe teaming up with the Urban League to be able to get like a home buying program where people of color and low income people can buy homes so that they can have equity, they can have property, and we can level off the, we can level off the equity there. But I just feel like one big thing, and especially now, I think police accountability is huge. And I think that that's a system that needs to be unbroken, because none of this matters if we're not safe. So if we can tackle that safety, especially as a Black man, I think that'll be a good start.
Thank you. Next are the mayoral candidates to answer this question, and same question related to addressing racial disparities and becoming more racially inclusive. And this one goes to Frank first.
Well, when we definitely have people that are qualified and highly qualified, we need not to smash that glass ceiling for inclusion. We need to blow it up with an atomic bomb. Because I know one thing. When I went through the Woodland Hills School District merger, the students had to make it happen. We were integrated in the Swissvale area school district, but they needed our numbers to make it work. And we made it work. And I'll tell you, the people that I ran into that I wouldn't have run into otherwise have been positive in my life ever since. We're doing this with the different boards. You look at the boards, you see what other people have seen. We've got this mix that's good and it can become better. And this is one of the reasons we need a cop that speaks Spanish. We've got these children getting on the buses and we don't have anybody that can really communicate them except through their smartphones. So one of the things we need to do is when we have immigrants coming here, we need to embrace them. And Swissvale has done that pretty well for over 100 years.
Thank you. Next will be Mayor Swartzwelder. Get her pin here. There you go.
So I think everybody makes a really good point. I think our diverse community is very inclusive. And, you know, we encourage everyone to get involved with your neighbor, involved with your community. And I think once people get to know each other and they're not, you know, afraid of the new person that moved in, or, you know, they have their own opinion of who they are, people need to become neighbors again. And I think we do a really good job at that in Swissvale. And, you know, people should get out and volunteer more. And, you know, we're doing this Juneteenth celebration. We want it all inclusive. So think about just getting involved and getting to know your neighbor.
Great, thank you. And last of the mayor candidates will be Jeremy to answer this question. And go ahead.
All right. So as everybody has mentioned, Swissvale is a very diverse community, and I agree with everybody on that. And as some people have mentioned before, we need to hold people accountable. We need to hold our elected officials accountable, and, you know, more police intervention versus arrests. But you know, it is very a diverse community. We are on the right track. I love the fact that we have people of color on our council already. We have people of color running. I love this. I want to see more. I would love a very diverse community. Let's, you know, other races involved as well. We do have other races, Asians as well. I would love to see them get involved and, you know, and participate in our community and be feel inclusive.
Great, thank you. There we go. And I don't think we have Scrap with us, but I'll go ahead and preview this set of questions. This directly relates back, and some candidates already mentioned this as part of their answers. But across the country, and we did have numerous questions related to policing. We tried to combine a little bit, can't hit all of them, but try to hit a few here. Across the country, there are more communities moving to regionalize and reorganize their police departments and follow more community support-based models. What are your thoughts on both regionalization and community support-based models? And I don't believe we have Scrap here, so I'm gonna go ahead and move that one to Ms. Salisbury. And go ahead.
Thank you. I think that this is going to have to be the way of the future. I mentioned earlier that I was participating in Leadership Pittsburgh this year. We've had a number of sessions talking about regionalization of various services, you know, whether it be police or even picking up trash, any number of things. But I think that we have a very balkanized, fractionalized set of boroughs in this area and across the state, frankly. I think that as we need to have a community of scale or an economy of scale to be able to afford some of these things with pension plans and everything, it's unavoidable that we're going to have to work together. Swissvale already does do policing for another community a couple of days a week, and I think that that's only going to grow. I think that we have to work with other communities to make sure that we're policing in a way that is effective in their community and that that is wanted in their community. But I don't think this is an option at this point. I think it is just what is going to happen in future years.
Thank you. Same question will go to Brandon Mahler.
Yes, so for Ms. Salisbury's point, I think that it's likely that over the course of longitudinally that this will occur. That being said, I think that making sure that we ensure that our officers are invested in our community, regardless of where they're from, is a big thing too. Because I don't know that I want to go on record saying this is inevitable, but it's likely. Community-based support-based models, I think there's actually something we should explore. I think that our, police officers are here to serve us. We're not here to serve them. And I think that they need to be invested in our communities. And that's not to say that they're not, but we need to continue hiring officers that feel the same way. And regardless of whether they're from another community serving our community or vice versa, we need to make sure that they are respectful of their role in serving whatever community they're in during their shift.
Great, thank you. This goes to Fred Quinn next with the same question regarding regionalizing, reorganizing, and developing more community support-based models. Go ahead.
All right. And just to piggyback off of Abigail and Brandon, I totally agree. I do think the way of the future is community-based. I feel like we can work with different crisis centers, like Resolve Crisis Center. I don't believe that every single call is a 911 call. And I think that's one big problem with policing now, being able to filter that out and being able to, knowing that if someone's going through a crisis or an opioid crisis, being able to address that properly instead of sending police every time. I do think that working with different communities and making sure and vetting them thoroughly to make sure that they do have on their minds to serve the community is very important. Because I honestly want to change the system. The system is not working, as I mentioned before, or earlier, I should say. Even in the wake of the George Floyd verdict being read, a 15-year-old girl was shot in Columbus, Ohio by police. And there's something that needs to change about that fundamentally. And I think that striving towards community-based and regionalizing our policing would definitely work wonders. And I thank you so much for y'all mentioning that too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next for that same question is Joshua Meiser.
Thank you. Yeah. I echo several of the comments said now. I will say I appreciate the role of police in protecting our community from violent crimes. However, the current state of our country has shown that policing is broken. And even though we haven't seen it necessarily here in Swissvale recently, we've seen it with George Floyd, we've seen it with Breonna Taylor, and we don't have to wait till it happens here in Swissvale to react to it. We need to be proactive in changing the system now. I do think one of the ways we can do that is working with our nearby boroughs and especially with community support-based models. As other people have said, not every call is a 911 situation. And despite as well trained as we want our police officers to be, certain crisis situations are not for police to respond to. It's for mental health professionals to respond to, and we need to work towards that.
Thank you. And considering the mayors do have kind of authority over police in a borough system, whereas council does make hiring decisions and certainly can have say in things like regionalization and whatnot. Mayors are directly involved in police matters. So these questions also go to the mayors, so mayor candidates. So this one goes to current mayor Deneen Swartzwelder. Go ahead.
So,
I'm sorry. I apologize. It's not the same question. I meant to preview the question.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
I meant to preview it. Sorry. And I'll give you your time back. As mayor, you are head of the police. Do you see any problems that need to be addressed with the police? And do you have any thoughts on how to address them? So, slightly different angle.
Yeah. So I do not see any problems with our police department. we have a top-notch police department, and we continue updating our training, and we have a diverse police department also. So it helps us, address different things with the community. There's always room for improvement, and more training, and I would like to see regionalization also, because we are a small borough, and we have more police and more things at our disposal, detectives and canine units, then we can patrol much better.
Okay, thank you. Next, mayor candidate, Jeremy. And again, this one is you're as mayor, you'd be head of the police. Do you see any problems that need to be addressed? Do you have any thoughts on how to address them?
As Mayor Swartzwelder stated, we do have a great police force. I actually came across a police officer the other day while driving, and she was talking with several people who were, crossing the street, just chit-chatting with them. And when we passed each other, she stopped and waved, and she was just the most lovable person, just based on that first interaction. She was very sweet, big smile, wave. I love that. We have great police officers, and there are resources out there that we need to be taking advantage of, and I would love to see our police officers continue to grow professionally and out of time, sorry.
No, that's great. Thank you. And then finally, for the question, as head of the police, do you see any problems that need to be addressed with the police? Do you have any thoughts on how to address them? And that goes to Frank Berry.
Yes, I love this question. This is awesome. When you had Citizens Review and Oversight Committee Board, in August 2008, Andre Dre Thomas was electronically lynched by the taser. Then we went and made Alice Watson our police chief, who was involved in that incident. I personally morally have a problem with that. What I'd like to bring up, I've got a big announcement. The Swissvale Historical and Genealogical Society has enthusiastically endorsed Jeremy Brake-Zacherl for mayor in his writing campaign, and also endorsed me for council. I'm going to focus on the council part of it. Jeremy backed away from the council. I'm telling you, the mayor wouldn't be here tonight. We wouldn't be having this conversation if there wasn't competition. Mayor, come to the meetings. Mayor, you need to meet with the African-American clergy. And when I'm elected, I will not discriminate in that regard. This is unacceptable. And it's not who we are as Swissvale citizens, and never have been. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. All right, we are coming to some of the final questions, I believe. There's just a few more to go. We're gonna take this one to Ms. Salisbury. And these final couple of questions only go to a few candidates, just so you know. So first one is, one community member would like to know, and this was a quote from the question, when are we getting a recreation center? So tell us your stance on the need for a recreation or community center in Swissvale, and when, if ever, you think that could happen.
So I think it would be wonderful to have a rec center or community center, whatever you'd like to entitle it. I think that it's something that I've heard a lot from people who have children, that they want to provide them with a lot more activities to do. I think that the number one question that always comes down to is money. It would be great to have that, but I would have to really have to be able to have it shown to me that it was a financially strong decision to do it. Of course, we've been dealing with the borough building situation. It's, I believe it's about a year ago, if not over a year ago, that part of the borough building collapsed. So to me, getting that remedied so that we have a safe place for our employees to be is priority number one. We are currently working, of course, with the architectural firm to see what features we might be able to incorporate into that. And part of what we're looking at for that is a community space for residents to use.
Great, thank you. And we don't have that one from Stribling. So this switches gears a little bit related to borough facilities though. And this one goes to Joshua Meiser. Are you satisfied with the process thus far in reimagining the borough building, as Ms. Salisbury just mentioned, partial collapse and previous plans to renovate a different structure for the borough building and current structure and so on and so forth. Little crib notes for anybody who's listening who's not sure what's going on. But yeah, so this question goes first to Joshua.
Yeah, I think this is a very important issue. The borough building being inaccessible to the public right now shuts down a huge part of accessibility to local government. I also, and I've mentioned this on some of these other forums, my wife is a structural engineer, so she's been giving me her feedback on the different analysis that have been being done of the borough building. And I'm glad we're looking at multiple options. I think when it comes down to it, this is an area where transparency is a key, where all the numbers are released, where the pros and cons of every option, whether it's rebuilding or renovating or using a different space, I think we need to keep all options open. But I think most importantly, there needs to be transparency with the public where, any decision is not made until there is adequate public input and transparency into the whole process.
Thank you. Same question to an incumbent, someone who is intimately familiar with it. Are you satisfied with the process thus far in reimagining the borough building? Why or why not?
Well, I think that the process is different than it was the first time around before I got on council. And we're going to make sure that we have a lot more public input so that the people who are paying for it are the ones that get to really help to shape what we get. And in addition to that, I would like to say that we are one of the few boroughs that does not have a community space. We need a community space. We need a community space for our community. We need a community space for our kids. And those community spaces, I know we have some outdoor community spaces, but we need an indoor one. And I think that's extremely important. And so as we go through the process, I'm going to keep that in mind because why is it that we do not have this community space available to us? It should be something that we think of and that the community, well, I hope the community embraces it. We'll see, because we're going to have some forums so that the community can talk about it and give their opinion.
Thank you. This question also to Jeremy Brake-Zacherl. Are you satisfied with the process thus far in reimagining the borough building? Why or why not?
The borough building, it does need to be addressed. As Abigail said, priority number one. It's falling apart. There's lots of issues. It needs to be either renovated or we need a new borough building. It's an issue that really needs to be looked at, and as Josh mentioned, transparent throughout the whole process. It's an unsafe building. It is falling apart and it needs to be addressed. Would like to see it move a little quicker, but things like this do take time. And I hope we see a resolution soon.
Thank you. Same question to Mayor Swartzwelder. Are you satisfied with the process thus far in reimagining the Borough building? Why or why not?
So I am a bit dissatisfied with the whole process. It has taken way too long. You know, we started looking for a new borough building 5 years ago, and here we sit with half of a building, and you know, it's in disrepair, and we need to move forward, build a new borough building, and let's get on with it, because we should not have our employees, our borough employees, working in such conditions. And the borough building, I know you can't tour it, but it is atrocious and it's very unsafe. And we need to move forward with a plan, and a quick plan, because we are going to, we're putting people's lives in danger, and we should not have that borough building open. So I am dissatisfied, but I know things take time, but they're just taking way too much time.
Great, thank you. And we are going to kind of jump back to the community center question for Mr. Berry. Wanted to make sure to ask at least one mayor candidate about this. So, and I realize Mr. Berry is focusing on council, as he announced in his just a few moments ago. So it suits there as well. When do you think we could get a recreation center? Are you in favor, or what is your stance on a need for a recreation center?
Oh, we've got one right now. We just got a grant for Wi-Fi in the basement of the Swissvale Library. At night, the senior citizens normally don't use it. A lot of times during the week, they don't use it. Now we've got one of our librarians retiring. We either need an intern or an outright volunteer, and that part of the building goes the entire length of the library. Another thing you can do is where they play bingo, you can subdivide it so you can have people go around, and they can use that space and not interfere so much with the kitchen and things that are actually for the seniors. We have a a community center. It's in that building, and that's something that we can do within the next 2 years pretty easily. It's going to be a little bit of a funding issue, but in that place will be safe. And a lot of times the library is open until 8. Right now it isn't because of the pandemic. But we have that answer, and the answer is right there in that building. And we need to work with the school district and that staff a little bit more. It's right there. And we do have one up in Regent Square.
Great, thank you. Related to abandoned properties, this was actually brought up a little bit during the discussion on taxes. This question is for Fred Quinn. What will you do to restore or otherwise deal with abandoned and vacant properties in a way that prevents the sort of gentrification that pushes low-income people out?
So I think working with local and regional and national organizations to be able to bring in low-income programs to help low-income people who want to buy a home, give them the funds and the grants to be able to fix up a home. So it could be a quick fix program, teach them how to buy a home and things of that nature. I don't want people coming in and flipping them and leaving. And that's what usually happens. A lot of people come in to these small communities. They will buy up a bunch of homes, fix them up real quick and leave. And that drives property values up and things like that. I think also maybe if funding allows, of course, being able to give a tax incentive for people who come and fix up these homes and stay in Swissvale. You know what I mean? We want to reward people for wanting to become lifelong Swissvalians. I am now a lifelong Swissvalian and I'm happy about it. So I think just being able to reach out and give incentives and give low-income people a chance to actually own a home would be very pivotal, and that will actually take on diversity and inclusion as well.
Great, thank you. All right. Same question is for John Wilson. I assume he is not back on. If I'm wrong about that,
Correct.
Okay. So same question then to Shawn Alfonso Wells. What would you do to restore or otherwise deal with abandoned and vacant properties in a way that prevents the sort of gentrification that pushes low-income people out?
So we definitely already have programs. We just have to get them over here in Swissvale. It doesn't take much imagination to get Habitat for the Humanities, to get other organizations involved so that we can fix up the houses so that people can own their own homes. That is one way to do it. I mean, I know the other way we have is we get grants and then we knock some houses down. Well, if we do knock those houses down, we need to do something with the space that's in between them. We need to try to make it so that we can be inviting to people who are in our neighborhoods, so that those who are renting can become permanent homeowners. So I want us to work on that. But in order to work on it, we have to open ourselves to talking to different organizations and bringing them in. We can't go at it alone. And council can't just, well, council, I don't think we have a mandate to do that. So, but we can make the environment a rich environment so that we're inviting these organizations in so that they can help our residents.
Great, thank you. All right, so we are on to candidates' choice. And so at this point, if any candidate, there was something that you didn't get asked that you have a burning desire to answer, we're going to give you a chance now to kind of say your piece on that topic. And so, these were the topics that really that came up through folks' questions. Some occasional, there were a few questions at the end of the day today we didn't get to incorporate, but these represented basically every kind of community question that came into us. So you can stick with those topics, but if there is one burning topic you didn't get to discuss overall, that's fine too. So if you want to pass, that's totally fine. But you can speak for a minute. So Ms. Salisbury.
People who know me well know that I don't usually pass up an opportunity to talk. So I actually would say that one thing that I didn't get to talk about today is small business. I typically do talk a lot about small business. I own a small business. I'm sitting in it right now in law practice. I think that it's important that we bring more small businesses to Swissvale and that we help people who are already here to start businesses. What I would say is incredibly important with that is relationship building. And that's something I come back to again and again to answer numerous questions. When I was able to bring the Ecotone Renewables folks here, it's because of a relationship that I built. I have two other businesses that rent from me here in Swissvale in my building, and that's because of relationships that I built that I was able to bring them here. I, of course, can't provide office space to everybody, but I did build a community of small business owners via the Mansman Foundation, which provides small business counseling and mentoring opportunities here.
Great, thank you. Brandon, is there a topic that you would like to address that you didn't get to talk about this evening?
No, but there were topics that I was scared to talk about. So, but anyway, or nervous to talk about. We talked a lot about diversity in somewhat, and I don't want to minimize this, but superficial ways in the sense of physical appearance and things like that. And I really want to, I'm a huge advocate for diversity of thought and diversity of thought and problem solving. So this sort of addresses all the questions at once, but I'm a huge advocate of that, and doing so in a, and I can't stress this enough, this is my platform, a fiscally responsible manner that respects the thoughts and of all, while doing so to move initiatives forward without delaying just by over legislating. Or I like to get things done and have a thoughtful discussion where everyone's viewpoints are heard, and not just heard in a superficial way, but really thought about. But at the same time, moving forward with projects and plans and things like that. I don't like to get mired in overly legislating things. And I would apply that principle to sort of generally my entire approach if elected to Borough Council.
Great, thank you. And I realize I had somehow inadvertently skipped ahead to Fred, but we'll give Fred his time too.
Right. And I totally agree with what you say, Brandon. So you did a good job as Fred for that 60 seconds. But I do have two things. They're kind of a twofold. And it's transparent, what is my role in communicating, is also the end of the COVID-19. We haven't really talked much about the COVID-19 pandemic, and as a lot of you may know, I am very visible. I have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that, and I make sure that people know what I had to announce and all that. I hop in these Facebook groups and get engaged with the different community members, because that's important to be able to, for them to see you, for them to know that you're listening to them. I think that's very important. And just getting this vaccine drive off the ground, I am so thankful for everyone who's helped, especially Swissvale Community Action as well. And just getting the word out, because that's important, because people don't even know these resources are here. And I just pulled this vaccine distribution together by myself. So, you know, just getting that word out. And I do want to say to Mayor Deneen, if we can get that distribution put on the Swissvale Borough sign on South Braddock Avenue, that would be wonderful. I would love that. And just even also on the Facebook page, because I did send a message and I didn't get a response. So that's important.
Thank you. Next will be Joshua Miser. And if there was another issue you wanted to address this evening.
Yeah, so I also kind of have a two-pronged approach. The first thing is kind of piggybacking on what Fred just said. You know, transparency and availability of information is so important. I see Fred's Facebook posts, I'm sure he sees mine, and I think it's great. I think it's excellent. You know, our Swissvale Twitter account, I don't believe has been used in over 4 years. You know, I think we need to have information out there for the public, things like the Sedco cleanups. You know, just more people need to know about them, and having information out there is really big. The second thing I wanted to hit on real quick, and I don't know where my timer is, I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah, it messed up. We'll give you about, yeah, something keeps happening. I keep messing that up. We'll give you 20 more seconds. Whoa.
Fantastic. Okay.
Uh-oh, sorry.
It's
sorry,
fine.
guys. Sorry, if you can hold for 1 second. There we
We'll
go.
not speak until the timer's going.
Yeah, it's going just to YouTube for the timer. That's fun. There we go. We'll give you 20 more seconds. Count you down.
Okay, thanks. The other thing I did want to speak to is the community center real quick. Frank very quickly mentioned, we do have a community center in Regent Square, but I will say it needs help. I don't believe that the programs that are there right now are good for the entire community. I don't think they represent the entire community. I would love to see a new community center built, but in the meantime, if we can use that existing space and have programs that include the entire community and even provide transportation, since I know Regent Square is kind of geographically out of walkability for some people in Swissvale, just using the space we have now, I think would be great.
Great, thank you. Sorry about the mess up there, everybody.
Okay.
We'll put this back on to Shawn Alfonso Wells and give you a minute to speak to any other issues you wanted to speak on this evening.
Yes, I wanted to say that we're bringing the LEAD program, Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program, to Swissvale. We're piloting this program. I've been dedicated to making sure that this gets here. It's nice to have bigger changes, but if we can start small, we can at least get something done. So we're bringing LEAD here, and this we were talking about this today. There are apparent lots of disparities in terms of bias and who gets stopped in our community and in others. So this is going to help with a little bit of that. In addition, I think that with our business communities, one of the things we need to do is we need to tie it together. They're very disparate in terms of how people see it. We have that little Regent Square area, we have Irvine Street, we have Noble Street. We need to bring them together by bringing in innovative types of actions, such as having pop-up artist shops, or having coffee runs, or muffin runs, or different types of things that ties our community together, and people will come into our community to spend money.
Thank you. We're going to go next to Frank Berry. So if there is something, Frank, that you were not able to address tonight or just wanted to chat about, go ahead for 1 minute.
Yes, what I wanted to bring up is I personally am not for expanding or merging our police department. The biggest reason is when we merge with someone else, they're probably going to have more say. Do we know if we're going to be the capital for the lead police station? What we need to do with the Borough building is get these trailers and start fixing this building. The building from 1906 is structurally sound, which is ironic. They put it there because it's on the border between the village of Hawkins and the village of Swissvale. It's just like the way they did where I went to high school up on the hill. It's there for a reason, and it's there for accessibility. We tried to make a former borough manager happy. those buildings across from the fire hall, the ceilings are caving in. So as long as we're honest with people and we tell them what we're doing, they're going to be able to support us. And when it came to ask for the numbers, a lot of people were backing to fix and upgrade that building. And we can do it, and we can do it correctly. Thank you so much.
Great. Mayor Swartzwelder is next. If there's something else that you would like to address this evening, you have a minute to do so, and we'll make sure you get pinned as well. There you go.
Oh, am I on?
Oops.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I did that. Yeah, you know what? The only thing I want to really address is what a great town we have. And, you know, I so appreciate everybody coming out and talking about the things that need to happen. And of course, they all need to happen. But, you know, we really have a strong, diverse community. And I think we should celebrate that and you know, find solutions to our problems, yes, but also celebrate that Swissvale is a hometown. We are one of the last hometowns probably in the country. And I am third generation Swissvalian. My children live here. My whole family lives in Swissvale. And that's something to celebrate. And I think everybody should, whether you were born and raised here or you just moved in, celebrate our community because I love Swissvale.
Great, thank you. And we'll give Jeremy the last word here. If you have something that you want to address for a minute, go ahead.
Yes. If you'd like to, I want to be a part of the community. I want to be a recognizable person. You know, if you see me walking down the street, I want somebody to be able to see me and be like, oh, that's our mayor. You know, I see him at council meetings. I see him throughout the area. You know, we need to be, as mayor, we need to be a part of our community. We need to be active, proactive. We need to take steps and, you know, be more a part of council meetings. We just don't need someone who just creates the events. You know, we don't need an event planner. We need a mayor. We need someone who's going to take action for our community and make it a better place to live and, you know, make Swissvale the great place that it is.
Great, thank you. Now, unfortunately, this evening, we are not going to have time, as we're just a little bit over time already, to take any additional questions from the community. As I mentioned at the beginning, these questions were all sourced from the survey that we put out. So we have covered quite a number of community questions, but there will be some opportunities for folks to ask questions more of the candidates, and I'll review those here in a moment. What's next here? First of all, I just want to thank and kind of give a silent round of applause to all the candidates this evening who did a wonderful job in conveying what their messages are for the community and where they stand. But there's another opportunity to learn about them as well. That's in the Meet the Candidates guide that we now have available. So all of these candidates that were here this evening, including the Scrap, who was not able to stay on for very long because of the baseball practice, as well as Angela Stribling, who was unable to make it this evening. Those candidates have all filled out the Meet the Candidates Guide questionnaires, 10 or 11 questions, I believe, each of them, as well as a few candidates from other offices, including Judge and Inspector of Elections, including County Council. There are some other candidates represented in that Meet the Candidates Guide. It is available now online. We'll be posting more about that on Facebook as well. So you can find out more about them there. This is also the time, and I think, Laura, if we have not already, we can go ahead and open the chat, and candidates can post their, any of their social media that they have in that chat. We're also, this is where folks, if you didn't get to ask a question tonight from the community side of things, We're also going to be posting another kind of, hey, candidates, introduce yourself, or list your social media type of post on the Swissvale Community Action and Swissvale Community Action Committee Facebook page and group. So candidates, feel free to engage with folks there. If folks have additional questions, I would encourage them to put them there. Also, to let candidates know, there were some folks that were engaging on Facebook Live this evening who had questions as well. So you may want to check in there after that's recorded this evening and finished posting, to check in there to answer any questions that folks had, to kind of give your viewpoint there as well. So just let folks know that, of course, too, last day to register or change your address or change your party, because this is a primary in Pennsylvania and we are still closed primaries. You will only get to vote for the party that you are registered for. And so you want to do that by May the 3rd. Last day to request a mail-in or absentee ballot will be May 11th. And then, of course, the primary is May 18th. For Brandon, if he is not already, I'm sure he probably is, the nominating papers for third parties or non-affiliated parties, if there are any other third-party candidates out there who are still willing to jump in these races, their nominating paper signatures are due August the 2nd, which is after the primary, before the general election. So just to be aware of that, you may still see folks gathering signatures, and those will be your third party or independent unaffiliated candidates. To follow us and engage with these candidates further and find out more about what we have going on and any additional resources that we have as the election season goes on. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Swissvale Action, or on Facebook /Swissvale Action after the facebook.com. And we also have an email list. If you do go to our website, swissvale.org, you can sign up for our email list, as well as, just to get tons of resources and information about upcoming elections, as well as many other events and initiatives that we will be putting on throughout the year. So with that, again, I want to thank everyone for being here. We had a huge response to this event. Lots of folks here online. I saw at least 41 people at some point in time who were on here, as well as many on Facebook. So please, thank you. Thank you for getting engaged. We hope you'll stay engaged through all of these methods. And thank you once again to the candidates. So thanks again, everybody. And we'll see you on the flip side.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you all so much. And May 1st, vaccine drive.
Yes.
Swissvale Community Pantry. So I just want to throw that out there. I will be sending it out. You will see a lot of me because I'm getting it out there. We have like over 30 plus signups so far, and we're just going to keep it going. So May 1st is going to be right at the 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Swissvale Community Pantry, 2028 Noble Street. Let's get it happen. Let's get these vaccines in arms. And thank you all that works with me on Facebook. Thank y'all for sharing. I thank y'all. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Can't do it without y'all.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.